Thank you very much. My name is Richard Riley, Chairman of the Litchfield Zoning Board. I would like to call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m., June 10th, 2020. We have a couple of items on the agenda this evening. Case number 2020-03, which is for Barlow Signs. We will be working on that one first. Following that, we will be working on case number 2020-04, which is a variance for a shed. The applicant is Mr. Krebs. So we are going to be hearing that one second. So I don't know if we have anybody else on the call that is here for that one, but if you are here for the second case, just be patient. We'll get to that one. We need to get through the first one. That being said, again, case number 2020. Before I get into this, I want to do a roll call with the zoning board members. If you could just identify yourself. Again, my name is Richard Riley. I'm present. John Devereaux.
John Devereaux, I'm right here.
All right, Laura Gandia.
I'm present.
And Kyle DeRusso.
Here, present.
All right, so I have 4 members on the board present. Let me double check, make sure that's it. That's it. I am going to be bringing Kyle to the board this evening as he is an alternate. So he is going to be appointed for this evening. Before we go into the case, well, case number 2020-03, applicant is Barlow Signs. The owner is BWSV LLC Lobster Boat, located at 273 Dairy Road, Litchfield, New Hampshire. Map lot number 2. The description of the property is it's a commercial multi-tenant building. And this is a proposal for signage for the restaurant, for some restaurant expansion. Now, before we get into that, Brandon, I want to let you know, again, we have 4 members of the zoning board present. It sounds like I do have another member who might be able to join us. That person is on the road. I don't know if you're familiar with zoning boards, but a full board is 5 members. You've got to get at least 3 members to agree to the application or to your request in order to get granted the signage that you're looking for. Mathematically, the odds are better for you if you've got 5 members present versus 4. How do you feel about that? You can waive your right to 5 members and agree to move forward with 4, or if you prefer, we'll try to get hold of Al and see if we can get him on the call.
I think we should be okay. Ben, are you okay with that?
Might be muted.
Oops, he might be muted.
Or he stepped away.
No, it shows that he's speaking, but yeah, I believe we should be okay to move forward.
All right, so if we can let the record show that the applicant has agreed to a 4-member board for the hearing. I think that covers the preliminaries. So without any further delay, Brandon, if you would like, I think you've done this before, so presented the criteria for granting the variance. If you need to, I've got the application up on my screen, so I can try to follow along or display things. If you need to display maps and so forth and so on, just let me know.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rick. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brandon Courier with Barlow Signs. I have Ben here with me from Lobster Boat. I'm in Merrimack, New Hampshire, and there is no one in the room for the record. There's a set of drawings that is in that application, and since that application has been submitted, construction has moved forward, and I had added in new pictures. I'm not sure if you would like to share my screen, if that's acceptable. Would that be okay with you guys?
I don't see any problem with that. Is that something you can do, John Brunel? Or does
I
he
think-
do it?
You could just pass the ball to him. Yeah, Brandon, just try to share.
Okay. Should be able to do this. As soon as you start sharing.
There you go. You got the ball.
Does that work?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, sorry if I look this way. I have another screen over here. Okay, so let me see here. I just got a message from Ben said he couldn't get in. Is there some sort of access that he may need for granting to get into this?
I showed Ben connected. If someone give me his number, I can call him directly and see what's going on.
Okay, his number is 603 608 8764.
8764. Okay, I'll call him. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, so I'll begin. Thank you for stating our case this evening. We are seeking approval for two wall signs located in a very unique and commercial section of Litchfield. This is a highly traveled area where traffic passing goes upwards of 50 plus miles per hour, allowing for seconds to view signage safely while passing. These signs presented here in front of you today, we have items A and items B, which I'll get to in a second, are both going to be increasing visibility from both directions for traffic. They fit cohesively with the new design, also while displaying a clean to scale sign package. Oops, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sorry about
Is Ben on now? Great.
Sounds like it.
Displaying a clean and to scale signage package. These signs will not impact any of the neighbors in any way. This location is almost done completing phase one of multiple upgrades to this little strip mall. This is going to be attractant for residents. It's going to be visually attractive. It's also going to help bring people to Lobster Boat itself and other businesses in that building, like other tenants, especially during this tough time of a pandemic. If you look around from that area, I'm sure you all are familiar. The surrounding buildings have a generous amount of signage, especially because of the 50 mile an hour, like I mentioned before, about the short viewing time. For example, 7-Eleven and the pool and patio place are directly across the street. And like I said, they have a generous amount. They have numerous signs. So in conclusion, like I mentioned, this is a very unique area. The signs won't do any negative visual impact to any of the neighbors. Number one thing that I see is safety. While I was there reviewing with Ben and John before the meeting a couple days ago, we almost witnessed an accident just right in that area. It's just a very dangerous area, and we want to make sure that there's safe travel. I know coming from the high school side, from Alvern area, back towards this location, the side view sign is definitely going to help clients and residents navigate into that first entrance there, which seems to be a little bit easier and safer to get into. Thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to catch up to you with some notes I was taking as you were talking. So there's a street sign involved, and then there's two building signs, right?
I apologize. So the existing sign that's mounted over the brick facade, you can kind of see it in this area right here. That sign is going to be removed. So that sign will no longer be there. There is no, on the pylon sign, the Lobster Boat has no signage on there. I know it mentions Lobster Boat on there, but that is the actual name of the plaza, which is the Lobster Boat Plaza.
So basically the only actual restaurant signage is on the building, which is one on the front, one on the side.
That is correct. And on the side, there's no Lobster Boat or restaurant name. All it is just a simple artwork to key in that tie for their branding.
Is that displayed somewhere on your, do you have a picture of that?
Yeah, that is item B here.
Oh,
If you
and I
guys would like me to bounce back and forth between the pages, I can to help out.
Okay. I didn't quite catch something you just said at the end of your presentation. You said something that through your improvements, you feel as though you've improved safety somehow. Did you remove a sign or did you change? Or what changed? Or
So- Yes, so the current sign right now is a red background with white copy. It's very hard to see. It clashes with the brick and the roof tiles there. With the lobster boat, the new lobster boat signage, item A that we're proposing here. It increases visibility. It's cleaner to read. It fits to scale within that area. And like I mentioned, with traffic, it's coded for 45 miles per hour through there, but we all know that most people usually go about 8 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and definitely through that area. So when you're traveling at that high rate of a speed, taking your eyes off the road, first of all, is dangerous in itself. So we wanted to present something here that could catch the eye for a quick, what we call chance view. So that's about a 1 to 2 seconds of a turn, and obviously this is a clean and simple logo that fits great in that area scale wise.
So the sign you're referring to that's red and white is, again, that's the one that's off to the left. You can just see a piece of it just above the brick facade.
Yes, and that one will be removed.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that looks like it's bigger than 4 square feet.
That is correct.
So was it grandfathered or something?
Most of the signage in that area is larger than that 4 square feet that's called out. Across the street at the pool and patio place, they have 3 that look like they're about 2.5 feet high by about 12 to 14 feet long. And then if we bounce over to 7-Eleven, they have 4 plus that are also very large as well. And again, this is a very unique area for traveling as well as the commercial use there.
Do you have an estimate about how big that existing sign is right now? What did you say it was?
It's about, I would say it's about 2.5 by maybe 4 or 5 feet. I'm not sure. Maybe Ben, you might have a better grasp from that.
Yeah, sorry for not being able to get in earlier. I apologize for just chiming in now, but I believe that sign is about 6 feet by 2.5 feet.
Okay. So we're talking somewhere around 12 to 18 square feet right now. Anything else you want to add before I open it up to the rest of the board members to ask some questions?
Ben, is there anything you'd like to add in?
No, I think you pretty much hit everything that we wanted to discuss. I think it's just really trying to get a proportionate sign that would go on the building to make it look appropriate to the size of the frontage and to the size of what we're trying to get up there and make it look right and clean.
Are these signs lit or are they just color signs?
Yes, they're illuminated.
They're illuminated.
And it's internal illumination, just like everything that's existing on the building and the nearby signage.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. All right. So just to try to keep this thing a little organized, why don't I just try to go around the table? I'll start with you, John, since you appeared first on my screen. John Devereaux, do you have any questions?
So you were asking Rick about the illumination on the right on the screen right now. It shows what it looks like at night, the simulated night view.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
So basically the variance that you're looking for is a signage size variance and number variance. Is that, because that was never really summarized for us?
That is correct. I apologize for that. We are seeking for 2 signs and above the 4 square foot that is called out in the code.
Yeah.
That's all.
So it's really, there's a couple different things coming at it. If you look at the two signs in and of themselves, you're only allowed one, so that's one infraction. You require variance to have a second sign on the building. And then both of these signs are greater than 4 square feet. So we've got that issue to deal with on both signs as well, right?
That is correct.
I'm good, Rick. No further questions.
All right. Kyle, got any questions?
No, I don't have any questions for the applicant.
At this time, I'll open it up to the public, and then, of course, if we have more questions, we can get through it. How about Laura?
Did you call on me, Rick?
Yeah, you got any questions?
Actually, I do have some questions.
Please.
Could you give us the dimensions of both of those signs? I don't remember hearing you give those.
So on the bottom left-hand corner here, the height is 6 feet from the top of Lobster Boat to the bottom of restaurant, and the width is 10 feet. And then on the graphic on the side of the building, that is 4 feet 4 inches by 3 foot 10 inches wide.
Can you give me that second one again, please?
Yep, I apologize. The height is 4 foot 4 inches by 3 foot 10 inches wide.
Okay, thank you.
One question for you, Brandon. And I don't know if maybe Ben knows this either. Are you familiar enough with the Hudson requirements to tell me whether these signs would be allowed in Hudson versus Litchfield?
I can't speak to that exactly. I don't have their code in front of me. I'd love to be able to provide you with an answer for that, but for accuracy purposes, I cannot answer that. I'm sorry.
I was curious because I know, I mean, you've got Hudson. We border Hudson right along 102.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know what their requirements were.
Yeah, so if you continue down the road, you have that the other strip mall there, or the multi-use, and a lot of those areas. I mean, that's set back at a little bit of an angle there, but most of the signage on the fascias there are of great volume. It's nothing over the top, and like I mentioned, and also what Ben mentioned, we're just trying to make a sign that fits within this area to scale. If we put a 4 square foot sign on this A-frame fascia here, it would look like a postage stamp. I had our design team set something up like that. Would you like me to put that up so you can see what that would look like?
If you got it, sure.
Okay, let me see if I can do that.
And while you're doing that, let me ask you another question. In terms of the signage that would be on a post, like you mentioned that there's something out there that says Lobster Boat right now, but that's really for the plaza, not for the business, the restaurant, I should say.
That is correct.
There's your rendition.
That is the 4 square foot sign in that area with their logo.
That should
That's
work.
awesome.
What I was going to ask you was, what's preventing you from putting a sign like this that you have on the A-frame on a pole as opposed to on the building? What have you considered that? Is there landlord issues there? What's going on?
Ben can speak towards this a little bit more, but I mean, from our perspectives and our conversations that we've had, we wanted to kind of allow for more visibility, like I mentioned before, about safety and so forth. And this section here with that A-frame, that's just it's a beautiful looking addition. And if there was no signage there, we think that it would be kind of open. It would be like something was missing. So we wanted to get that filled and use that building, that wall signage for that.
I mean,
Yeah, I think to get
Sure.
that space filled in, and like you said, if there was nothing there, if we were to move it on the pole sign or have it off to the side where it is now, that space just doesn't seem like it's. It just seems vacant. You know, it just doesn't. You don't really know what that almost belongs to, or just it feels off to the side and just doesn't have. It feels unfinished.
fair enough. I mean, from my own personal perspective, I think it's more aesthetically pleasing to see it on the building than seeing a pole, 20, 30 feet in the air with some, I don't know, I just think the signage is better on the building. My own personal preference. I would agree with you. All right. If there's any questions from the board, I will go ahead and open it up to the public and see if there's any input from the public. Do I need a motion to open it up to the public, Laura, or can I just do that?
You could just do that.
All right, then at this time, I will take any input from the public, whether it's in favor of the application or against. I don't know if we have anybody, but if you do, I'm going to scroll through and make sure that I'm not missing. I see we have Mr. Krebs on the line, but I think he's there for the next call. Or the next case, I should say. I think that might be it. I don't see any members of the public. So I will, at this time, I guess, go back to my board and ask you, do you have any questions or any further discussion on this before we go ahead and close the public input? Nothing from the board, huh? I guess I'll take a motion to close public input if everybody's ready to move forward and deliberate on this. When we close, just so you guys know, Brandon, when we close public input, and then, we won't be taking any more input from you guys. So this is your last shot at trying to give us some input too. So I just want to be careful I don't close the public input too early. You're all set?
I'm all set. Ben, is there anything you'd like to add in relation to the restaurant in the town or anything? Oops, I believe he's muted.
You're muted, Ben.
I think we've been really excited that we've been able to do as much as we have with the building, and we look forward to trying to continue to clean up and make the building nicer and nicer with, each year. And we're hopeful that making this end of the building look as attractive as possible will continue to help us allow cleaning up and fixing up the remainder of the building. And excited to hopefully make this feel like a completed project and get this to hopefully get approved. But
Well, that's a really good point. And since we did scramble at the last minute to get a hold of your a PDF version of your site plan, a site improvement plan, could one of you please just kind of bring that up real quick and wrap this up to show us what has, summarize what was done to the building itself and how the signage kind of, so we can see how the signage kind of plays into that.
See if I can get it over for you.
If not, I know I can too.
I have this. Is this the site plan that you're referencing?
Yeah, that looks like it. I think I got 3 pages total.
Yep, that is correct.
All right.
So let me know if you'd like me to move forward pages. But this is the way that the building sets. This is where, can you guys see my mouse?
Yes.
So this is the section where the wall sign, so you'd be looking from the Derry Road there. This is where item A would be located. And this is where item B is located.
And all of that is new?
This, Ben, you might be able to speak to this more, but I believe this existing patio, this area, is where the addition was put on.
yes.
Yeah, here we go.
So yeah, where your mouse is over there in the middle, we put the 20 by 20 square foot or 20 by 20 foot kitchen addition off to the side, and then I believe it's about a 40 by 20 foot covered patio area. So everything that you're seeing that's now blue in the new renderings with the drawing, the blue and the gray, that's virtually all new. And then we just redid the entire interior, and the handicap ramp out front is it was just rebuilt and completed. So we're just we've kind of started with the restaurant and over, and then hopefully within the next year we're going to be trying to re-side and clean up the other front entrances leading into the building. In a couple of weeks we're going to be restriping and seal coating the parking lot, so that'll be nice and cleaned up. So we're just trying to kind of continue to make improvements to the building in general and clean it up and make it look more appealing every day.
Ben, I'm sorry, I apologize, but can you just tell us, where are you the owner of the business? Are you with Barlow Signs? Can you just, I don't think I got the formal introductions, and I know Michelle is going to be taking the minutes for us, and I want to make sure she has what she needs to capture all of it.
Yeah, my name is Ben Workier. I am, my brother John and I own the business, the Lobster Boat Restaurant, together. We also own the property along with my father. So we own the entire plaza and the property as well. So,
yeah, excellent. Thank you. All right, so I guess if we're all set,
Rich, can I ask you a question?
go ahead, please.
Where is the existing pylon sign on that?
The
Okay.
existing pylon sign is over here.
And now the sign that you want, just the lobster on the side,
Yep, that is over in this area.
right? And I understand the justification for the bigger sign on the front.
Okay.
Just give me a little bit more explanation for the purpose of the lobster on the side.
Yeah, so with this area, again, you guys are familiar with how the traffic flows. This intersection over here just seems to be kind of dangerous. So we wanted to put something on the side of the building here to reference traffic traveling in this direction here, to try to clue them in to turn in before the building rather than going past the building and into that second entrance. For that second entrance, if you're familiar, the 7-Eleven is right there. There's always a bunch of congestion there.
That is true.
And how many tenants are in the plaza altogether?
sorry, what was that question?
How many tenants are in the plaza?
Right now we have 5 tenants in that plaza.
Thank you.
Yep.
That brings up a good point. I mean, do you envision these same size signs going on all the other tenant spaces? How do you, I guess once, if we were to approve it, that's what could potentially happen, right?
Ben, can you speak to what you guys are doing for improvements across the fascia area there and about sign bans, if you guys have any sort of idea of that? I'm sorry, I can't speak to that.
Sorry, I just kind of lost the audio for a second. What was the question?
They were asking a question about the updates to the front of the other storefronts for signage. Is there going to be some sort of sign band that fits in there? They're just worried that if there's more peaks like this, that other tenants in that area are going to have are going to want the same thing. I just wanted to make sure to clarify that the front of the building, what your guys' goal was for that.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be looking to expand any more signage at all on the rest of the building. This kind of the restaurant we're trying to make stand a little bit separate from the building. The rest of the building has right now I believe it's 3 signs in the front of the building. They're all the same exact sign, the same exact box sign, so it looks uniform on the rest of the building. So there's 3 other signs out front that are all the same sign that come off the same front fascia board leading into their entrances. but there aren't any other, I guess, A-frames or peaks that would allow, or we would ever be looking to attach a sign to, like what we're looking for right now. There aren't any other wall spaces or areas that you'd really be able to put something up. And if we were to try to update or do something else down the road to the building, we would not ask for that.
All right. So it's fair to say that basically this is the only space on the existing building that can support this sign right now anyways.
Yes.
And it sounds like the future as well.
Yeah. That gets sticky though unless we put it in writing. I was just curious. I mean, as I read the ordinance, it sounds like the town of Litchfield, their intent is to have these pole signs be your primary signage. And then in the multi-tenant buildings, you're allowed these 4 square foot placards, if you will, that kind of says, this is my space. And the other one is somebody else's space. And the other one, you know, I don't see it. I can understand why you guys are looking for something more, I guess is what I'm saying, because it's hard to have that kind of a rule, one size fits all, when so many businesses are different and there's so many different circumstances too.
And especially nowadays with all this virus and stuff, businesses and all businesses are looking for more ways to attract customers. I mean, people are, as you guys know, people are scared to go out as it is. So trying to help support local businesses is definitely a number one thing here. And especially with the other tenants there, you could kind of say that the Lobster Boat here is like the anchor of that strip mall. And I'm sure you guys would love to have extra support for small businesses in your town as well. And that'll help attract them into that area.
That's a good one. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? If there's nothing further, I'll ask for a motion to close public input.
I'll make a motion to close public input.
I have a motion from Laura. Do I have seconded?
Second. From John.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we've closed public input at this point. Anybody want to start off? Where your thoughts are on this? No. All right, let me go down the list. Criteria number 1. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest because
Hey, Rich, can I just interject for 1 second?
please.
Just because we have a lot going on as far as the different variances, we have one to determine if we want to have more than one sign, and then we have the dimensions of the sign. So I think it probably may be prudent to kind of attack those in a different light, just to figure out how the board wants to proceed. If we want to first say, do we want them to have more than one sign, and do the variance criteria for that? And then we give them 2 signs, then say, well, should those 2 signs be bigger than the 4 square foot or whatever it is?
Yeah, okay. That's a great point. So with regard to the first, I mean, do we want to go through all 5 criteria for each one?
I would, because there may be folks who may approve of the one on the front and not necessarily like the one on the side.
Yeah, exactly. We need to know where the sticking points might be if that's going to be the case. All right, thank you for that. So let's go first with allowing 2 wall signs where only 1 is permitted. Then we'll start there. So allowing the 2 wall signs versus the 1 wall sign, is that going to be contrary to the public interest? I mean, they've provided some explanation here as to why they think it's not. I would tend to agree with. I'm not sure I'm getting hung up on the 2 signs versus the 1 sign myself. At least not with the public interest anyways. If anything, it helps to identify Based on the location of the building, people coming down Route 102, seeing it from the side doesn't hurt. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think those are valid reasons.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree as well. And I think that I don't know what the actual purpose or what's behind the ordinance itself, but it might mean if you have two signs right on the same face next to each other, whereas these two are more spread out and kind of one's from when you're seeing it from two different angles as well.
Right.
Another stipulation we might consider is that if we did approve the variance of these two additional signs, that the original one is expected to be removed.
Okay.
As they had recommended that they would be taking down the old sign.
And another possible condition that we may want to consider is no freestanding sign that they're entitled to, because if they want to have now a freestanding sign, that's going to be 3 signages for one business.
Just taking notes, thank you. Oh, freestanding. So freestanding, you're talking about like a pole mounted one then, right?
Correct.
So, Laura, did you mean no additional freestanding sign, and not you're not considering having them take down the one that's on the pole, right?
Well, I didn't think that they had I did not think their restaurant was advertised on that pole. That was just the Lobster Boat Plaza kind of general thing. But they're entitled by our zoning, each lot, well, actually, that's not going to work because each lot may have one freestanding sign. So never mind. That wouldn't work for them.
Okay.
Never mind.
I think the big this, in my opinion, is that the ordinance does not really reflect the businesses on 102, and with the speed of the road, a larger sign is actually a safer sign than having this postage stamp like they portrayed for us.
Well, yeah, again, I think they envisioned the larger sign being the freestanding sign. But, you know, I'm not sure why they're restricting it to that, quite frankly. I think it's more appealing to see it on the building the way it is. Myself. Where was I? All right.
One.
Well, I think that gets to the spirit of the ordinance. You know, what we're asking is the spirit of the ordinance observed by, if we were to grant this, are we still, you know, maintaining the spirit of the ordinance? And I think that's what you were just addressing there, John.
Yeah.
So I would be okay with number 2 as well. I think we had everybody, I think all 4 agreed with number 1. I'm okay with number 2 as well.
I also agree with number 2.
How about you, Laura?
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
no issue.
Substantial justice is done. Grant the variance will allow Lobster Boat proper identification to support their business and recent expansion. Signage upgrades do not harm the public or individuals in any way. I don't see anything wrong with that statement. I'm okay with that too.
Yep, me too.
Me too.
Agree.
Last one is the value of the surrounding properties are not diminished. So by granting these 2 building signs, would that have any negative impact on the surrounding businesses or properties? And based on the location, the surrounding, you've got businesses across the street.
Fine with them, right? It's more reflective of those businesses rather than taken away from those businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to see what else they wrote there. Probably read it. Yeah. So essentially, properties. Yeah. No fair. All right. So let me just check and see what they've got here. Rhoda. The ordinance that highly restrict wall signs to be used as strictly entrance identifiers is an unnecessary hardship. The lobster boat property is unlike the majority of commercial properties for retail use, and that is located on a high-speed roadway. Gets back to what you were saying, John, as well. So when you look at the specific location of the building and so forth, there does seem to be some very specific things there for this particular property that would warrant or at least would warrant the two signs, one on the side and one on the front. So I guess I'm okay with number 5 as well.
Agreed.
So if we're all in agreement, 1 through 5, anybody want to make a motion to approve the two, I guess it would be a motion to approve 2 wall signs where only 1 wall sign is permitted.
I will make a motion in case number 2020-4 to grant the applicant's request from section 1503 for one additional wall sign.
Second.
Let me just rephrase that, please. This is actually case number 2020-03. So
Oh, sorry. Yep,
same
great.
motion, different case.
Yeah.
All right. And who seconded that?
John Devereaux.
John Devereaux. All right. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Rich, you have to do a roll call for these motions.
You want
Roll call.
All right, sure. Laura?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
John Devereaux?
Yes.
And Richard Riley, I vote yes as well. So that's a 4-0 vote in favor of the applicant's request for 1 additional wall sign. So a total of 2 wall signs where only 1 is permitted. So back to Laura's point. Now we've got, and I'm going to make sure I word this right. Overall sign height greater than 2 foot. Size greater than 4 square foot as permitted. I want to make sure we don't have 3 things to deal with, Laura. It might be a height and a square footage. I'm not sure. I think it is.
Yeah, we probably would be a size, right? Size, square foot.
Yeah.
Right, so we have 2, they're only allowed to have 4 square feet. And we have the first sign, I think that's 60 square feet. And the other one, I didn't do the math, is 4.4 times 3.10. And the second one is the side one. The one on the front is 60 square feet where only 4 feet is allowed. And then the second one, I'd have to do the math.
Yeah, I think Brandon actually had the square footage. I didn't write it down though.
Item A should be 60 and item B is 16.75.
There you go. 16.79.
Yep.
Yeah, but see, so, but if you read the variance, I don't know if you guys are looking at your new variances, but on page 95, we're looking at 1503.01, which starts on 94 and carries into 95. So 1503.01B, fascia signs on front of the building may not exceed 35% of the length of the building occupied by the applicant and not more than 2 feet in height. So we're definitely, with the front sign, we're dealing with an issue with B. And the 4, I mean, I don't know how you can do, well, I guess you could have something 4 square feet, but be more than 2 feet height, 3, I don't know how that works, but. Yeah, what I'm seeing, you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, there's 2 criteria here that it's exceeding. Could we just approve the size that it exceeds the square foot as well as, or deliberate the square footage as well as the height of the signs.
So think, Rick, you're worried that just the height and the square footage is not enough?
Well, no, it is enough. I just want to make sure we address both and not, and don't fail to pick up on something, you know, I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Makes sense.
What
So
do you think?
are we saying if the fascia sign is different from a wall sign? Because we just granted them 2 wall signs.
Yeah, I think wall sign and fascia sign are interchangeable.
Okay.
As far as I can read this, they only speak about, I'm not sure where, maybe I'm the one who threw the word wall sign out there.
So maybe if, like Kyle said, maybe if we grant the variance and quote the size and square footage of the signs, that would be adequate?
Yeah, I suppose. What do you think, Laura? You're the technical expert.
I didn't hear his question. I was looking at the,
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is, do I need to go through the 5 criteria to address the 2-foot height requirement and then go through it again for the 4 square foot requirement? All together.
sorry.
You got something to say about it.
Sorry about that.
So, did you get my question?
Nope.
All right, so what I'm trying to figure out is, let's just stick with the front sign, for example.
Yep.
That one would exceed 2 feet in height and would also exceed the 4 square feet. And where 1503.01B specifically talks about fascia signs on the front of the building that can't exceed 2 feet in height, I guess the question is, do I need to go through all 5 criteria just for the 2-foot height requirement and then go through the 5 criteria again for the 4 square foot requirement? Or can we deal with all that at once?
No, I think you would have to do both, because that B about the fascia signs, it says may not exceed 35% of the length of the building. And I don't even have those dimensions as to, and I don't think we had any information on what that was either. So
Those were on.
I
I'm
did the
sorry,
math on that. We're okay.
so there's no issue with the 35% then.
Correct.
So it would be the 2 feet in height.
Right.
So my next question would be, did we properly notice that part of the zoning that they were
We
seeking
did.
from that?
We did.
We did, okay.
That's why I kind of brought it up. Overall sign height greater than 2 foot was in there.
Then, yeah, I would. So there's a lot going on here.
Yep. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with just the front fascia sign right now and go through the 5 criteria for that one. I think what we're going to do is, let me make sure, one is not to exceed 4 foot attached to the building, all size minutes are made in the face. All right, so I guess I'll stick with, wow, this is going to be a challenge.
Well, I think, Rick, if we take the first sign that's on the front
Yep.
and go through and say, through the 5 criteria in reference to the 4 feet, and we can do them simultaneously too, and the criteria about the 2 feet in height, those should be, those are 2 separate variances that he's seeking
Right.
for that particular sign. I mean, I think the rationale, I don't think we need to necessarily go through the 5 points twice for those, but keep them in mind as we're discussing, we're actually discussing, exceeding the 4 square feet and exceeding 2 feet in height for the front. And then we can talk about the side.
All right. So, all right, so we're going to focus on the 4 square feet initially for the front sign, fascia sign on the front of the building. Right now, the variance reads that they're limited to 4 square feet, and as you guys know, they were looking for something along the lines of 60 square feet, I think, right?
Right.
Yep,
So,
63 total square feet.
will that be contrary to the public interest if we were to grant that variance? Take a stab at it. Anybody, please.
I say it would not be contrary to the public interest.
I agree, especially from a safety perspective of trying to read the sign.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's based on the input that we've gotten. It seems to be a benefit to health, public safety to have a sign large enough, since there's no other sign out there.
Right, and if I remember what the site plan showed, there was significant parking in the front of the building as well, before you even get to the Derry Road.
Yeah,
So you got a lot of land in there between you before you actually even get to the building.
yeah, I did. I saw 2 rows of parking, I think.
Right,
So the spirit of the ordinance is observed.
I say it is.
I do too.
I agree.
Essentially, it's certainly allowing the business to operate, and that's really what the signage is out there for, is to draw attention to the business. And it does seem to be in character with other businesses in surrounding area. Substantial justice is done if we were to grant this variant. I think that's pretty straightforward. It certainly supports their business. And again, it seems to be in character and in keeping, so I don't see how there's any harm that would outweigh a benefit to the applicant.
I agree.
Agreed.
Then you've got number 5 on this, which is little enforcement of provisions would result in an unnecessary hardship. I think as we go back to the 2 signage, it's for all the same reasons. The location,
Yep, very similar.
So it sounds like we've got agreement on all 5 criteria for the 4 square foot on the front fascia sign to exceed the 4 square feet. We would essentially, is everybody in agreement that what they seek, which is, I believe, a total of 60.83 square feet. That's what we would be granting.
Correct.
Okay. All right, then, I'll make a motion to grant a variance to section 1503.01A to allow the applicant, to allow the applicant to have a sign on the building that would exceed 4 square feet. So it's a sign that's going to be attached to the building that is going to exceed square feet. As a matter of fact, I guess I'll just say it's going to be a sign attached to the front of the building. And that sign is going to be 60.83 square feet. So, I'm sorry, the motion is to approve a sign attached to the building, the size of which shall be 60.83 total square feet.
I second that.
And Rich, could we just add in as presented, just because that layout,
Okay.
nice if something was 60 square feet and a little bit different, it might be more obtrusive.
Okay, so I'll amend my, I'll amend that to say, I'm sorry?
But we could just put that condition as presented instead of you amending, whatever you prefer.
No, I'll go ahead. I'll just amend it. I'm going to propose that we approve the variance to allow a sign attached to the building. The sign shall be 60.83 total square feet as presented on the plans titled job number 17886. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote, starting with you again, Laura.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Kyle,
Yes.
Devereaux,
Yes.
and Rick Riley, I say yes as well. So you have a 4-0 vote to grant the variance for the sign to exceed 4 square feet. Now, I think I'm just going to jump right to that same front sign and talk about the 2-foot height requirement. And for all intents and purposes, without going through all 5 criteria, I think you can't approve a 60 point something square foot sign without actually going over 2 foot in height. So I think all of us understood this was a requirement. So for me, I'm comfortable with just saying all the same 5 responses would apply to allow that front sign to exceed 2 feet in height.
I agree.
So then the motion would be to grant a variance from section 1503.01 for a sign to be attached on the front of the building. And I guess I should get those dimensions. That will be, the sign will be a maximum of 6 foot 1/2 inch for a total height on that front sign as shown on the plan, job number 17886. So that would be my my proposal.
Is that your motion, Rich?
My motion, yeah, I'm sorry, my motion.
I'll second that motion.
So I have a seconded. Any further discussion on that? All right, hearing none, then let's do the roll call again. Laura?
Yes.
Yes. And Kyle?
Yes.
Devereaux?
Yes.
And Rick Riley? Yes. So we have approved a third motion, which grants that front sign to exceed the 2 foot up to the maximum of 6 feet 1/2 inch as per plan. Now, last, I think we have to deal with the side sign. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have to do both. Or
Right, be
maybe,
the same analysis.
huh?
It would be the same analysis that we just did.
It was, right?
Yes. Different dimensions added to the motion.
Mhm.
You want to take a stab at it? We've already, do you want to take making the motion, or do you want to walk us through it?
Well, I just wanted to have just put this out there for food for thought, because the second sign, just the lobster, which I know it's the lobster boat, but is that going against the spirit and intent of our sign ordinance? It's on the side of the building. I know there was testimony given that that's going to enable people to see it coming, from Alvern, from Hudson to see it. I just wanted to put that out there to make sure that everybody is good with a lobster exceeding, requiring 2 variances, actually maybe even 3 in total, is with the purpose of our sign ordinance.
I think it is because what it is a symbol, and it's very easily seen from the road going 60 miles an hour down the road. You don't have to read anything. It's a symbol, so you can immediately understand what it means. So it's immediate understanding, and therefore in line with the safety, which is the intent of the ordinance, in my opinion.
No, and I would agree. I just think it's important for us to have that discussion before we make a motion.
Yeah, I agree.
Then, if nobody else has any comments, I will take a shot at making a motion.
Go ahead.
I will make a motion in case number 2020-3, section 1503.01, A, to grant the applicant's request for a wall sign greater than 4 feet with the dimensions of 16.79 as presented.
Second that motion.
All right, we have a motion that's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do the roll call vote. Laura, you made the motion, so
Yes.
Kyle
Yes.
and John Devereaux
Yes.
and Rick Riley. I vote yes as well. So we have a fourth motion approved for the side sign to exceed the 4 square foot requirements. And I believe that total square footage was 16.79 square feet.
Correct.
So I think that covers everything for the lobster boat.
I agree.
Is there a motion we need to permit that sign being greater than 2 feet?
That's also front signs. This is going to be on the side of the building.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the front. We wouldn't need a motion for that.
Cool.
I know. Yeah, it's interesting because as you read the B, it specifically speaks to the fascia sign on the front of the building.
Okay. That's weird.
Well, I guess it is and it isn't. When you think about it, they envision these pole signs and then a little placard over your door that identifies you, you know, when you're walking in. Or I don't know. But anyways.
Okay. Very good.
I agree with Laura. I think we're good. And I don't feel the need to put a stipulation in here about removing the old sign unless somebody else does. I think we've only granted 2 signs, so one of them has to go. They can't have 3.
That's right. So I think it's kind of implied. Agreed.
Okay. So I think that concludes case 2020-03. So Brandon and Ben, I think you guys are all set. We're going to put together a decision document which will capture as best we can everything that we've discussed here. It will be a decision document that you can reference for your permitting process going forward. Next couple of days, I'll get an email out letting the building inspector and Troy and the planning board know that we've approved everything. But I'll get the certified letter out to you guys. Well, I'll get the actual letter out to you guys in the next few days if I can.
Great, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you and working with you guys, and look forward to seeing you guys in the future.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Good luck with your project.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Give me a moment to just clear my desk and move on to the next piece. All right, next we have case number 2020-04. So let me see who we have on the line here. We have Mr. Krebs. Are you on the line? Can you hear us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Okay, and then we got Michelle, Kyle, John. So I think that's it. I don't see any other members of the public. That doesn't mean they might not join us while we're having this call. But let me just read this into the record, what we've got here. All right, so 2020-04. Name the applicant, Mr. Kenneth Krebs. Address 22 Campbell Drive, Litchfield, New Hampshire. Map 7, Lot 30. Mr. Krebs is seeking a variance from section 310.00 to allow a shed, which has been constructed within the 50-foot setback. I know I had that here somewhere, exactly how much it was into the setback. I think it was into the
Send an
setback
email.
3 feet. Sorry, did somebody say something?
No, it's, I'm asking for a variance of 39 feet, so it's 11 feet into the setback.
Well, it would be 39 feet into the setback, which means leaves you 11 foot from the line, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so that's the application. I guess we'll start with you, Mr. Krebs, if you would, just work through the criteria. I think you've already familiarized yourself with the process. So,
I'm not an expert, but at the time that this is a pre-planned thing on fixing my backyard. At the time I made the plans and I have them written up, I looked at my certified map and it says 20 feet for setback for a building. And then in, I believe, November, the town said up to 200 square foot could be 10 foot. So I got rid of my old shed, bought a new shed, and it turns out to be 11 feet, only because at the last moment I had him turn it so I could see the door better. But so I thought I was doing correct until somebody said something. I mean, I've got a building permit. It's built. It's empty. It's for personal, how I feel a shed should be. I don't like a shed inside, in my yard, in my lawn. So it's for personal reasons why I put it there, but I thought I was following the regulations when I did it. Also, my front yard is 150 feet of frontage to Campbell Drive. My backyard is 210 feet of frontage to Talent Road. And when you do the math on that, you're taking 41% of my yard that I can't put a shed in. So I have 60% of my yard left with a Litchfield septic tank and a 1,900 square foot house. So you're limiting me even further than that by where the trees are in the backyard. I'm just trying to get a nice full-size lawn, and I have a nice area where that shed is that I can put my equipment to take care of my yard. I have an entrance now with a gate on it. It is for personal reasons while I thought I followed the variance. Or, I'm sorry, followed the regulation. I don't know what else to say on this.
I'm going to try to bring up the drawing real quick. But what we will need you to do while I'm trying to bring up the drawing is you did a nice write-up on the 5 criteria. And I know it may sound silly, but we need you to read this into the record. Feel free to expand on anything you feel you want to expand on, but go through the 5 criteria and, use that as your justification for why you think you need the variance, or why you should be granted the variance.
Okay. Section 1 or section 2?
This is going to be in section 2, request for variance. Starting with, it's not contrary to public interest because.
As the best I can read these ordinances, the shed does not present any threat to the public or safety. In fact, I gave up nearly 10 feet of that frontage and built a shoulder in the road after taking all the suggestions from the road agent. So he has an area that snow can go instead of into the trees that were hanging into the street. The cars that went by used to hit them and they'd throw trash in there, and it was a mess I had to clean all the time. So I took all that out, and because of the because of what I did, you can now park there. The snow can go there and all that. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because I have, in good faith, tried to follow all the requirements of the current rules and regulations. I did apply and receive a building permit prior to construction. The new town article, I mentioned that already. I put it would have been a little bit further out, but at the last moment I did turn the base of it so I could see the door from the house, so to make sure I lock up at night. Since this, I have installed 210 feet of stockade fence, well, 280 actually, of stockade fence, so it's well protected from the public. Or you look at it the other way, the public can't get to it because of how the road rises. Substantial justice is done because I've done it in good faith. I've received the permit and I put it up. If I remove it at this time, I don't think the shed would make it moving it. It is a kit shed made from a kit. It's quite inexpensive compared to Reed's Ferry and those types of fences. So it's put together, not meant to move. It also, I didn't write in there because I didn't find out till later. The warranty is not valid if I move it. It does have a warranty on it, even though it's a kit shed. It's cheap wood. The values of the surrounding properties should not be diminished. I actually increased by getting rid of the rotted shed from the carpenter ants, put a lawn in, got rid of the pine trees, got rid of a lot of things in the shed, which will be painted the same as the house. I haven't done it yet, but I do have the paint on hand. I put irrigation systems in. I put a stockade fence for security. It's safe environment for the children. We have custody of 2 grandchildren, and they can't play in the backyard. Well, now they can, but they can't because the yard just got put in. It's growing nice. And even if I sell the house, it's a large area for a large family. Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance will result in unnecessary hardship. I had to regrade the whole backyard in order to just get a lawn that you can actually mow, because of there's at least a 15-foot height difference from one side of the yard to the other side, and there's a 10-foot difference from the house to the street of Talent. I kind of edged my way back up. And if I have to move it, I have been looking to find out if anybody can move it, and then the way they want to move it, it's just going to make it crumple into pieces. Plus, it would cost nearly $2,000 just to move it, and the shed itself is under $4,000. It's like a waste. It won't hold together unless I do a lot of shoring up underneath, and it would take me some time to move it, and then I don't know where to move it. I have a neighbor who doesn't agree with me on everything, and I don't want to put it where she can have access to the back. And the other side has a slope on it, and that's where the old shed was, which got eaten up by carpenter ants, and the trees hit it and put holes in the roof. It wouldn't be right to have to move it. I would just probably get rid of it. I don't know what I would do with it, honestly. That's why I'm asking for a variance. I don't know what else to say. Can you still hear me?
Yep, no, that's good. Appreciate it. I'm just trying to
I'm a maintenance person from 22 years in the military. I call it my mini hard stand. I have the shed. I have nice hard gravel there where I can put my equipment. I have more equipment than I need for 1 acre of land. I'd like to get my equipment inside the shed. It doesn't stay out. It's been out now for 4 months, and stressing me out on that one because I don't want to buy no more equipment. But I have an area where I can back my truck in, throw the stuff on the truck, take it off. I don't have a place to store leaves, tree limbs, things like that. I put it all on the truck, and I take it to the recycle point. I've cleaned the whole yard out of everything. just so I can have some nice big grass. We have a 9-year-old grandson who has 2 friends next door that are 8 and 9. They play baseball, football. So I don't want a shed in the area. I'm not one for a shed in the grass, I might say.
Yeah.
You're driving your vehicles in and out of it or whatever. So I have a hard stand set up. I have it protected by the fence. So it's more personal than not knowing that I violated something which wasn't brought to my attention until after I constructed it. That's about all I can say on this.
So, Mr. Cribb, can you see do you have a computer? Are you online video or just audio?
Because of I'm not on the computer, I'm on my telephone. There's telephone rights that the parents have for the grandchildren, which are at 7 o'clock, so I don't want to interrupt them.
Okay. Because I just wanted I had some photos up here and I didn't know if you could walk us through the photographs or not.
Yes, I could.
If you've got do you have a hard copy of your application?
I'm looking at it I'm watching on TV.
Oh, good. So, first picture I have right here, if you can just describe what that picture is for us.
That is Talent Road. Whoop.
I don't know how to make this turn.
I'm okay with it because I know that road. All right, so this is looking from west to east on Talent. You see my fence is right there. This is the middle of the driveway of the next property, looking down the property, so that you can see that you can't even see the shed. You see my fence, which is further back, so there's no visual anything as you're driving. That's what I was trying to show when I did this, that I actually, because the trees used to be into the street and you would hit them with your mirror. Pine trees.
Trees on your property, you mean?
No.
Right, on my property. And all the leaves were packed up in there. I was going to say, so the beginning of this fence is my shed is more than 2 foot above the level of the road. On the other end, it's more than 4 feet. It's kind of, Talent Road has a downhill right on behind my property. At the same time, it curves at my property.
Let me go to the next picture.
Just a slight curve. Okay.
How about this picture? What's this one?
Same one I see. Okay, this is the other view, the other way, from east to west. And it shows the same thing. It just shows that the road is wide open, so there's no, my shed, you can actually see the tip of it above the fence.
Right here.
Yep.
And then the markers there are my property line. And for whatever reason, when they made this road, they put it closer to my property. It's not like centered between mine and the one across the street. So it's closer to me, property-wise. So I took that marker right there in the middle of the fence next to the road. That's actually 5 feet in. And that's the back of the yard.
Okay. So this is
okay. So after talking with the road agent, he asked that I do not allow all the water from the backyard to flow out into Talent Road. So where that shed is about 2.5 feet above the level of Talent. And where I'm standing is about 3.5 feet, and it gets further down the line. So I built a little culvert or a swale right around the 40-yard mark from one end of the property to the other, and it all flows down to the right of the shed, and there's I made a little depression there. So during this last rain, it didn't even fill up halfway. So all the water from my yard goes into the right of the shed, and it doesn't go out in the road, so I don't have no damage out there, because if you look to the right a little, I'm standing next to the propane tank, which is about 8 foot above the level of the Talent Road. So I just gradually went up, and then I put this swale in here to control the water flow so it doesn't go out and wash everything away out there when I
So
took all the trees out.
Is the swale this pile that looks like to the right of the shed? No.
No, the dark part is a depression. There's something, I don't know what that is, honestly. I cleaned this up now, and I've got my leaf vacuum chippers. I have 2 of them on the right side of the shed. It's all leveled out, cleaned up. The grass is all green from that right tree over. It's green growing. The swale is fixed so that it doesn't wash down my own backyard. Everything is erosion controls under control. And I controlled what goes out to the street by just 90% of the water that hits my house goes to that depression there. My whole house has got a drain clear to that house because of complaints from the neighbor. So I don't allow water to leave my yard unless I can't stop it. The shed, what's that? Everything is erosion controlled under control.
Keywords, my own backyard.
Tammy, you need to mute.
Hey, I'm not sure. Are we logged in now?
Yes, you just need to mute your phone for a moment.
Drain clear to that house because of complaints from.
Okay, so do we just have Mr. Krebs speaking right now, John?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. For now, just so if anybody else just joined us, the way we have to run these proceedings is right now the board is speaking directly with Mr. Krebs. We're asking questions back and forth. When we've concluded and reached the point where we're ready to open it up to public input, I'll ask for public input. If folks have just joined us, that will be your time to speak. We'll open up the microphones and allow you to do so. For now, the board is working with Mr. Krebs right now. So go ahead, Mr. Krebs, if you want to continue.
So being 22 years in the military, I use a hard stand. So my shed is in an area where grass won't grow, trees won't damage it. Chipmunks don't like that 3/4 stone dirt. I can work on my lawnmower, my snowblower, my I have a lot of equipment for this yard. Before I retired, I bought them all. And I have an area that I don't have to work in my grass to do it. And it is another 15-foot drop down to the front yard, and going back and forth with my equipment, I'm just killing the yard that I'm trying to grow. It's a personal reason why I put that shed there, and it has to do with having a comfortable maintenance area. I thought I followed the variance, the regulation, but obviously someone doesn't feel I did. And now that I've read it, I know I didn't. But my certified map, which is done by licensed certifiers, say it's 20 feet, so I'd had no reason to doubt what I did. So that's why I'm asking for a variance.
When you went to get do we have a building permit in your application?
You should.
You submitted a building permit, right?
Yep. You want the number?
Let me see. I think it was attached, so let me just see if I can find it. Right here, right?
Say again?
I think I have your building permit right here, 20-000153.
Yes.
Was the shed part of this building permit?
The shed is the building permit.
So the
I didn't know I
shed is-
needed a permit to. What?
Go ahead.
Well, I didn't have a building permit, and then when I was talking to the inspector about another complaint from the neighbor, he says, "Oh, you're supposed to have a building permit." And I said, "For a shed?" And he said, "Yes." So I got a building permit before the shed was installed.
So this building permit is dated 4/14/2020.
Correct.
At that time, the shed was not installed.
No.
And did you submit plans with this building permit? Drawings, your certified plot plan?
No, because the shed is not on the plot plan. Remember, I sent you one that I hand drew it in, and then I sent you one that is just the plot map.
Yeah. All right.
And
So
I do
basically,
think,
hold on a second. Basically, he was able to issue this permit for the shed. It says replacement of old shed, yeah, without knowing the exact location. Is that correct?
I don't think it has a place where the exact location was.
Okay.
I didn't see that question in the permit process. But it was quite obvious where, before the fence was there, you could see where I was putting it.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I wasn't trying to, there's no place in that process to say where, or even to tell me to put a map in there that I know of.
No, we usually, I don't know if there is or not, to tell you the truth. I know when I had to go through it, it just came up in discussion, so I didn't necessarily.
That would be something you should do.
Yeah. So I guess just to be clear, are you saying that, no time, at the time you got this building permit, it was,
Yeah.
you made the determination that to abide by the 20-foot, and then you changed it to the 10-foot based on the changing of, I think, the last vote. It is when that ordinance was changed to 10 feet for the setback.
And I upped the size of my shed to 12 by 16 instead of 12. I had an old 12 by 14, which is 192.
Yeah, and that's where you are right now in this building permit, 12 by 16 anyways, right? Yeah.
Right. When I found a cheaper place to buy a shed, I went with that.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask the board if they have any questions for Mr. Krebs. Anybody like to speak up?
I have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
When I look at the drawing that shows the shed on it, it looks like it's also encroaching into the side setback. Am I seeing that correctly?
The what setback?
The side setback?
The side setback is the neighbor's yard. It's 12 feet from that one.
Right. I think you're supposed to be,
He's supposed to be 20 feet?
10.
I think you can be 10 from a side setback.
I just find it. Good, that he's going into it where he drew the shed, it shows that it's into the setback. If you go to his,
I'm not a draftsman.
well, I just want to make sure that
I tried to do it proportionally, but
20 feet on the side.
But that was the ordinance. I changed it to 10.
Here it is.
Yeah, that right there. If you see how it's like, see the dotted lines? Those are the setbacks, and it looks like he's onto the side setback.
Here you're talking about.
Yep, see how it's kitty cornered, but he's also encroaching into that side setback if that drawing is accurate.
Correct, but the warrant that was approved, the article that was approved said sheds less than or equal to 190 square foot only need be minimum side and rear 10 feet.
So if that's the case, shouldn't we be seeking relief from a different part of our zoning?
Well, his problem is the right of way, right?
Correct.
I'm gonna open up, let me get to my book.
I will say it's not the right of way, it's the zoning ordinance that added 50 feet to the right of way.
Well, the back portion of your yard should have a 50-foot from the back from, that's Talent Road. You have a 50-foot building
Correct.
setback, and then the side you have a 20. But now you're saying that you're seeking relief from a different section of our zoning ordinance that was just enacted.
No, well,
No.
well, that's a good question.
No, they raised the square footage of a shed. That was the warrant. You could have 192 square feet, 10-foot side and rear.
And where is that? What section of our zoning is that?
310. Note 2. I mean, note, yeah, 2.
Well, note 2 is the violation for the,
Oh, true.
note 2 is the
Oh, page
50-foot,
Page 6.
but I know what you're talking about, Laura. I'm not sure where that new shed requirement,
And
one is. So let me
it
see.
was that passed in March,
Yeah,
but when does that go into effect? Do we even know the effective date of that?
I think it was effective March 20th, but let me see if I can find that though. Where are we gonna find that?
Well, I'm looking at the website that has the zoning on it, and the last update that's on this guy is 2018. So is there an updated 2020 version already?
Yeah, that should be available on the website.
I'm not seeing it. I'm only seeing 2018.
Yeah, no, there's one there for
It
2020.
says March 18th, 2018 on it.
If somebody could find that on the website, because I'm not finding that.
I've got the hard copy, so I'm gonna look there if you guys want to try to find it on the website. I know it's in there somewhere. I'm still trying to find the actual ordinance for the shed.
I don't have access to the 2021. I only have March 2018, which says 192 feet. I mean, 120.
I sent you guys all an email, I thought, with a link to the new one.
To the new zoning?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
okay. I'll resend
But
it when I can find it.
It's actually note number 8 is what I was told is the problem. That my backyard is a road.
Yeah, right. So Laura, to
sorry,
clear up
not
the 20-foot thing, in section 310 of the 2018 ordinance,
Let me just go.
there's a footnote 4 to that table, which says sheds less than or equal to 192 square foot only need a minimum side and rear setback of 10 feet.
Wait a minute.
Yes, and now that you say that, that is still the same in the new edition amended March 2020. That is still note 4, except they changed it to less than or equal to 200 square feet, only need a minimum side and rear setback of 10 feet. However, what the town is maintaining is that this shed, well, what they're saying is note 2 of section 310 applies to this shed. So basically what they're saying is the setback for this particular structure should be 50 feet from the right of way, is what they're saying.
Right, hence his 39 foot off, because he would
Correct.
have met the 10 by a foot, but now he's 39 foot into it.
And is he over 200 square feet?
He's 192.
How much?
192, I believe.
Right.
12 by 16? Is that what you said it was? 12 by 16, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 192. Oh, so you're technically under 200 square feet. Interesting. So Laura, are you following that? Because
Find what Kyle, the note that Kyle just referenced.
Yeah, it's in, sorry, section 310.
Yep,
There's that, see the minimum lot requirements table?
I do.
Footnote 4 to that.
Okay. The one that says sheds less than or equal to 192 square feet only need a minimum side and rear setback of 10 feet.
that's correct. However, the new one now reads sheds less than or equal to 200 square feet.
So that's
So-
worked in his favor then.
It does.
Right. So I guess the question originally came up about the side setback of him not meeting the side setback, but it sounds like he meets the side setback. He's saying that on his site plan there, it says it's 12 foot from the side lot line and 11 foot from the rear lot line. So I think I think it's just a scale issue with where the shed's drawn in at and where that building side setback line is. If those dimensions are true, that's written on that plan there.
So I guess the next question, and thank you for that, Kyle. The next question would be, if you look at the footnote, does he already meet everything?
Well, he doesn't because his rear setback is actually a front setback because it's a front setback off of Talent Road.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah. So they're saying that is a right of way, which means you've got to use note 2. And they're
Right.
saying this
He's
applies
back
to
to the 50.
right.
Yep, gotcha.
Well, that's how we get there. And it sounds like basically Mr. Krebs was confused, and I think he's taken responsibility for placing it where it is. Anything else, Laura?
We're just looking at one last thing. Now, this is going to be super picky, but number 2 applies to both the front lot line. So we're not saying it's the front lot line. We're saying it's the public right of way that he needs the 50-foot from.
That's what the town is saying, yes.
Okay. Nope, that's all I got.
Anybody else? John or Kyle?
Mr. Krebs, you're talking about the grade of your property. I had a lot of, I think you said maybe a 15-foot elevation difference from side to side, and I see your issue, obviously, having the 50-foot setback on both sides of your property there. I see an approximate tank location and a leaching field bed area on your property. Can you talk about the grade in that vicinity there and kind of transversely across?
From the Litchfield towards the tank?
Just, yeah,
Or the
generally.
Litchfield?
Yeah, generally in that
took
area.
I'm facing the front of the house, so the leach field is on the left. I took out 150 yards of sand because it went straight up, and the trunk of the tree itself were above the level of the septic tank. So I had to take all that out. The old shed happened to be stuck in the middle of that on the same level as the leach field.
Okay.
So it got eaten alive over there. So I have taken those pine trees out, and I have tried to grade it far enough that I won't fall off the lawnmower when I mow it.
Okay, so you're saying it's steep in that area there then?
Yes, it goes uphill on that side. I mean, not as bad as it used to, but now I can get the mower on it if I go crosswise, not up it. And then where the tank is permanently put where it's proposed now. And I kind of had to level around it so that I could maintain the 18-inch for the line. Because 10 foot from the back of the house, I had a 2-foot upslope and more trees right there. And then further down, it went up again. And then it went clear down to the road. So I took all that out because the water would come towards my house. So
Okay.
now the water goes off to the side, off to the corner.
So
It's pretty level, but it's not level.
Okay.
It's for water flow. I had several complaints that my yard was draining across to the neighbor's yard. I mean, the yard is how the Mother Nature made it. That's the way the water went. So I've changed all that and backfilled, and now the water goes away from that yard down to the little drainage point I have. It was quite extensive work I have done on this. But this row is one problem I see is you take 50 feet from the back and 50 feet from the front. Now you're squishing me into about an 80-foot by 150-foot area with my trees and my grass.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And in that vicinity that you're talking about right there, that 80-foot swath, is the grading flat or is it, does it undulate a lot?
It's a gradual down until you get to 15 feet or so from the neighbor's yard. I have made it come back towards me, so it kind of goes into a wide swale towards the gate on the fence in front of the shed, which I had a problem when I first did it, but now that the grass is growing, I don't have that problem no more.
Good.
That's the same I went through in the front yard. It's just so uneven elevation-wise. You have to kind of deal with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for kids to play, it's uphill, downhill. They can slide in the snow after the grass is grown or whatever. They can play baseball, football, whatever. I've tried to open it up, yet keep some trees for shade.
So let me circle back here, Mr. Krebs. I did receive a copy just last night or this morning from the town. They just wanted to make sure that I had a copy for the file. Apparently, they've issued a stop work order. Is that true?
Correct. And they issued it on the day that the shed was being put together.
Okay. So
that stop order is on the shed right now, and the shed has been locked. I'm not using it.
So the permit was issued, the stop work order was issued, it looks like it's dated April 20th.
Correct.
And the building permit was issued like the 14th or something, I thought.
Yeah, it took 4 days to figure out how to use the automated system to get a permit. So I had to get the inspector to help me get it through it. And we got it the Friday before the Monday.
So then from the time you got the building permit, you had your shed delivered. How is it that he issued a stop work order? Like, did he just happen to drive by and see you putting the shed together and go, whoa, whoa, whoa?
My lovely neighbor called to complain about it when she saw it being built that morning.
Okay, so then he came over and he checked, and that's when they determined that you were in violation.
No, he called me between 9 and 10, and I explained to him that it already has 2 sides on it, and I can't just stop where it's at. If I have to move it, let me get it all together before I move it. So I put it all together and I put that stop work order on it, and it's been locked ever since.
Alright.
So it's just sitting there.
All right.
It was all leveled and everything.
Do you, I don't know, the board, Laura, do you feel the need for me to read the stop work order into the record?
I haven't read it, so it'd probably be good, just so.
Yeah, I just got it. So essentially, it is a stop work order on town letterhead. It is signed by Troy Brown, interim zoning enforcement officer, and Mr. Peter Dion, our building inspector. This is essentially, it says you are presently using your property at 22 Campbell Drive, tax map 7, lot 30, in violation of the town of Litchfield zoning ordinance because you are constructing a shed within the setback required from public rights of way as follows. Section 310.00 dimension requirements, front setback 50 feet applies to both the front lot line and all public rights of way. Therefore, your shed needs at least 50-foot setback from Campbell Drive and Talent Road right away. You must immediately cease construction of the shed and either move it to a conforming location or apply to the Litchfield Zoning Board of Adjustment for a variance. If you did not do so within 5 calendar days of the date of this letter, the town will begin legal proceedings and compel you to do so. In any such litigation, the town will seek an award of its costs and attorney's fees, as well as statutory fines in the amount of $275 per day from the date of the town's first letter, as provided by RSA 676:17. Although the selectmen did not enjoy bringing lawsuits against citizens of the town, should you continue to violate the law, you will leave them with no other option. You also have 30 days to appeal this decision to the Litchfield Zoning Board of Adjustment pursuant to RSA 676:5. Please contact me immediately so that I can assist you in bringing your property into compliance. Thanks for your attention to this matter. So that is the stop work order. We do have a copy of the denial letter, which is already in the file. That should have been available to the public for viewing. So the stop work order is really the only new piece that I had gotten from the town.
That was brought to my house about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he stapled it on the door of the shed.
Yeah. What are some of the other properties like around there? Do they have sheds? Do they have any sheds? Is there examples that you want to present that says, you're not the only one, anything like that?
I have a ton of them. You can just drive up and down Albuquerque and find 7 of them. Where they're 5 foot from the LOW. I mean, do they have a variance or are they grandfathered? These things I don't know. But most people put their sheds in their backyard, and I just got unfortunate that I have a street in my backyard of a road. So I didn't really think it was a problem when I did this.
No, I know, and you're not the first person to come, I'm sure, to find yourself in that situation. I can only think of 1, maybe 2 cases since I've been on the zoning board where we've had the situation happen, and it's very challenging for all persons involved, really. Laura can probably do a better job of explaining how the law deals with this, but I think the burden, in summary, the burden is on, us or you as applicant to make sure that whatever you're doing follows whatever those restrictions are, whatever those building codes are. So I don't know. But I want to get back to, again, other properties in the area. Do you have any specific addresses? You don't have any photographs or anything right now to show us?
No. I can only think of one off the top of my head. It's on Albuquerque and Page. They have their pool house, which is not 50 feet from the road, let alone wherever the ROW is. I'm looking for it while I'm talking.
Well, I appreciate it.
Got the
I'm
one-
going to go back with the board too. Any other questions from Kyle or John or Laura? No.
I can't find it.
All right, so unless you have anything else to add, Mr. Krebs, I know I have a couple of things from abutters, letters that were submitted that I would typically enter in on their behalf during public input. I normally just read these into the record. And then after that, I would, entertain any further input from any members of the public that are on the call. Public input will stay open, so you would have a chance to, address any comments that are being offered from the public. You can respond to that once we've heard from them. So if you have nothing further you want to present right now, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public and I'll go through the public letters that I've received so far.
Okay.
All
I
right.
have nothing further to say right now.
All right, let me see what I can do here. All right, so I have a letter here dated June 2nd, 2020. Case number 2020-04. This is from a person named Jim Law, located at 58 Talent Road, Litchfield, New Hampshire. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left that in there. To whom it may concern, I respectfully submit the following reasons that Mr. Krebs' shed should be moved. Mr. Krebs had every opportunity to locate the shed anywhere on his property during the alterations he was doing to his yard. He chose a site that is the most intrusive to our view of the front yard, the behemoth shed roof in our view. The location of the shed will only have a negative impact on our property value. With the alterations he has done to his property, we now have water runoff from the road, causing pooling of water in our front yard. Never had that issue before the changes were done. With the current location of the shed, the unnatural runoff of rain from the roof will only add to the water pooling situation. The current shed location at 11 feet from the road is not cohesive with the neighborhood. The surrounding homes and outbuildings are all set back to a specified measure of approximately 50 feet from the right of way and in accordance with regulations. See if I can figure out how to get out of this. Oh, I think I just closed it. I thought there was something else here too. See if I can get this one to come up. All right, so this is from Tammy Law at 58 Talent Road. Supplemental info. So I think this is a supplemental letter added to the one I just read for you. We also offer the following pictures for your use and reference. Pages 2 through 7 are pertaining to terrain alterations and effects to stormwater and shoulder, as mentioned in variance application. The shed was built on April 20th, 2020, and then trimmed and shingled on April 21st. Mr. Krebs' sprinkler system install began on April 23rd, 2020. Hydro seeding was done in May. So we have some pictures here. I'll just hover on this for a minute. If anybody needs me to hold on something, please speak up.
Do I wait till the end? So say something?
Yeah, just give me a second to go through this, please, and then I'll, actually what I'm gonna do is, I think we may have some of these, people on the phone, so I'm gonna open it up to the callers and then give you a chance to respond. This looks like a similar view that you had given us down that road. An earlier picture, obviously, because your fence wasn't done.
Correct.
Yeah.
The retaining wall wasn't completed.
All right, and then I have one other letter, I believe. If I can figure out how to get to that one. Maybe I don't have it here, but I will go ahead and read it into the record. I have one more. One more from, I believe, a letter here from, let me just make sure I got the name right here. Felicia Poole, located on 59 Talent Road. This is an email message dated to me. This is in response to the public notices that went out. She's basically saying, thank you, Richard. Essentially, my opinion of the entire matter boils down to supporting the neighbors directly affected by the current situation. I'm across the street, so my opinion is solely on aesthetics. I do not have to worry about sharing a property line or possible drainage issues and whatnot, so I cannot attest to that part of the situation. I support Jim and Tammy Law's concerns, and they have my support in the matter. In the matter of the shed, I don't believe having a shed is an issue in itself, but it is oddly placed facing directly towards the Law's home where there was a gap in the fence. If that was my situation, that would make me uncomfortable. Thank you for your time. And it's signed. So those are the letters I received in writing with regard to the request. And again, just be patient, Mr. Krebs. You will definitely have a chance to respond. But I think, before I turn it over, I think we may have some additional people on the call. So while I have it open to the public, I'm going to ask, do I have any members of the public on the phone who wish to speak? If you do, please identify yourself. Oh, I guess I was wrong. I thought we did have people.
Mr. Chair, you have Tammy Law is on the line. I did unmute her phone.
Okay. I wonder if she stepped away. Tammy, are you there by any chance? All right. Well, she may come back. If she does join and you hear from her, please just cut in and let me know. But Mr. Krebs, I assume you probably have some response that you want to give us to the letters that have been submitted.
Well, to Mrs. Poole across the street, I have talked with them and they have no problem with the shed. So she supports her because somehow they know each other. But anyway, Mrs. Law, and I hope she's hearing me, because I have a lawsuit. She has her fence on my side of the property. That's why I can't finish my fence. So even in the letter of the lawsuit, she brings up the shed, which has nothing to do with the fence. That is what I'm dealing with. I have the inspector over 20 times. I've had police 10 times. I've had the EPA 3 times. Every single thing that I do, she has a complaint. Now, the water was running down the road like it's supposed to, and dirt was going into her yard. So I said, okay, I got all this loam. They haven't pushed it out. I'll put loam down and I'll put sod down. Nope, here comes the police trespassing because I'm putting grass to filter the dirt from going into the dirt that is already there. She has a grub problem in that corner. In this lawsuit, she says, now I'm blocking her visibility. Well, my fence is okay unless you guys tell me it's not. So if she cut her trees down, she had visibility. The only part she doesn't have visibility is where my shed is. And that's my backyard. Stop taking pictures in my backyard. I had to put complaints about her picture. She made me cost me money when I did this retaining wall because she's taking pictures and the Bobcat operator felt uncomfortable and had to go away. So I had to hire him back to come back so I could get the retaining wall done because of her and her pictures. It's downhill. The water goes downhill. This is explained to her by the road agent. There's nothing they can do unless she puts a pipe under her driveway and lets it continue downhill. It's going to go in her yard. She wasn't comfortable enough to talk with me about this. We could have leveled off the yards, but then you would still have the problem of where does that water go? It would have went to her driveway, downhill. I don't know what to do with her. I try everything I can to, I follow these regs. That's why I put my shed where I did, because I said, oh, look, it's 10 foot. I'll put it way in the corner, out of the way. No, she found something on that. Just last week, she went to the conservation committee because she thinks I put fertilizer on my front yard and there's phosphates in the water. No, water's clean. I'm tired of dealing with her. She's made the person on the other side of her sell his house because she can't deal with her. So I have nothing with regards to her, anything she says. This is about the 50 foot that I by my certified map says 20 feet. I put it where it says. Now what I don't hear is the surveying company saying they're right, and I don't hear nobody else saying they're wrong. They know that road's there. It's on the map. So I don't understand how this came up, but I do now because it was Tammy Law. I don't know what she has against me, but, I'm a retired veteran. I'm a retired Homeland Security. I'm the best person you should have next to you.
So let me stop you.
I don't get it.
Just to follow up on, I did ask for some clarification from Troy Brown, the zoning administrator here in town, as well as the town administrator. I asked for some clarification on how they came to the conclusion for the right of way and so forth. How did they determine where those lines were and so forth? So I have a letter dated May 29th, 2020 from Troy. Dear Tim and Natalie, per your request, I'm writing to clarify my April 30, 2020 letter to Mr. Kenneth Krebs of 22 Campbell Road regarding the above subject matter. My research of town plans and records found no evidence of the Talent Road right-of-way on Mr. Krebs' property. Therefore, I consulted with Kevin Lynch, the previous building inspector, and also Promise Land Surveying. Mr. Lynch informed, so that's a company, Promise Land Surveying. That's capitalized.
That's who did my survey.
Okay. So he goes on to say, Mr. Lynch informed me that previous building permit setbacks were measured from private property lines along Talent Road. I was advised by Timothy Penguin, New Hampshire Licensed Land Survey number 827, that Mr. Krebs' property bounds have been used as reference points on several development plans over the past 20 years and are considered to be the limit of the town's right-of-way. Based on this information, I determined that Mr. Krebs' shed needs to be 50 feet from his rear property line in accordance with the setback requirements of Litchfield zoning ordinance, section 10, note 2, which he attaches. So that's how he came to the conclusion that you were in violation. I know there was some question, in my mind, which is why I asked for further clarification from Mr. Brown, and that's what he submitted. So for the record, that's where the town is getting their information from and how they made their determination. So I did
From a
want to
complaint
get
from Mrs. It came from a complaint from Mrs. Law.
it may have been initiated that way, but I just wanted to make sure that I got something cleared up as far as what the town was relying on to make their determination on the right-of-way itself. I wasn't sure exactly where that line fell, and I'd asked him to clarify it for me.
Mr. Chair,
Nothing.
Yeah, I meant to get that into the record, so I did that.
Mr.
Okay, let's get back to public input. Do we have anybody from the public that is still with us that wants to speak?
Yes, my name's Tammy Law. I live at 58 Talent Road.
Okay. So again, so we're here on the zoning board, and I'm just going to ask, and I've let this kind of go a little. I'm giving some latitude here, but let's make sure we keep this civil and pertinent to the shed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely is right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to reiterate that Mr. Krebs has said tonight that he was verbally notified of the cease and desist by 9 or 10 a.m. I came home for lunch. I normally do around 12. I noticed it was 12 o'clock. He only had a floor slab down. I have submitted a picture. It's page number 8. When I noticed that Mr. Krebs was still building the shed at 12:39, I took a picture as they put up the first wall. He had plenty of time to relocate that shed. He was notified. He continued to build all day. I submitted another picture at 3:48. I took one, and he's got the roof rafters up and 4 sides to it. He continued to build the next day after he received the cease and desist. And he deliberately put it there.
He was also notified, Mr. Brown was given an email the next day that told him that he was proceeding to put the shingles on the shed the next day after he was already given the hard copy of the cease and desist order to stop building on that shed, which I got a report from Mr. Brown that said he was going to be done by 7 o'clock that night, which is when I got the cease and desist email from Mr. Brown. So
it was deliberate.
This is a total negligence on his part of, I am not going to do what the town wants me to do.
I need you to, can you please identify yourself, please, the gentleman that's speaking?
Jim Law, hello.
Sir, can you identify who you are, please, the gentleman that's speaking?
Yeah, Jim Law.
Okay.
Tammy's wife.
Gotcha. I thought that's who you were, but I needed to make sure because we've got to treat this like essentially this is a quasi court hearing. So I just need to, I got to follow certain formalities. I don't mean to sound rude or anything. I'm just trying to be by the book.
Yes, we are frustrated. Thank you, though.
Okay. So I understand, and I think Mr. Krebs already stated that he chose the location for the shed. He had a, in his mind, a logical reason for placing it where he placed it. So we understand that. I did pick up on the timeline myself. I think Mr. Krebs even talked about that. I can think of one or two examples where something similar has happened, but I'm not sure exactly what those circumstances were either. I guess, is there anything else you want to add? Because I had a question for Mr. Krebs.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can tell you right now that this individual has raised the property line or property elevation of his property by over 2 feet with crushed gravel. He's now got it that we actually end up with a drainage situation that was condoned by the town that drains into our front yard that creates a pool. I'm pretty sure my wife has supplied those pictures to Mr. Brown. This particular shed being put where it is, which is a behemoth shed, is only going to aggravate that situation. He had every opportunity to do, when he was working on his property, to make a level spot to put a shed that was less intrusive to our property that he could do, and yet it chose to put it in a most intrusive spot he could to our view. And that's A, and I don't know if you've read our paperwork, but B, I am telling you right now, our property value has gone down, guaranteed. We go to sell this house, unacceptable. Not going to deal with that. Okay?
That's good.
So
Let's wrap it up.
there's two.
So,
I've got a third. I'm going to hold that one in the memory banks.
All right.
so let me try to address one of your concerns. And I'm not sure, I'm not an expert here, and actually I'll ask Kyle to interject after I've said something, but I believe that if somebody alters their land in such a way that negatively impacts your land, I don't think there's a variance for that. If there's a violation and the town makes a determination that there's a violation, that's nothing that they would come to us for. So the zoning board isn't really a place where you can get relief from something like that, or where you as if you're dealing with Troy, you're in the right place. They're the ones who I think we need to make that determination. I mean, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but does that sound right?
Are you asking us?
I was asking Kyle. I don't know if he knows or not.
I was just going to say that we only included the flood pictures because Mr. Krebs mentioned stormwater in his application.
Yeah, and I was wondering about that because you mentioned the shed. I mean, if your contention is that the shed being, a roof and a surface with runoff and so forth is contributing to that situation, then I can understand what you're saying there. But the grading and so forth, I don't think that's something the zoning board really, I'm not going to say we don't sympathize with it. I can't say we do sympathize. I think it's just out of our jurisdiction, so to say.
Okay, how about you go back to property value?
Or the shed.
It affects our property value as far as the shed goes.
I get it. Okay.
So guess what? Move it.
Jim.
Sorry, Jim, I was on mute, I was on mute there, Rick, but
Yeah.
I think what we have to discuss here is the shed location being within the 50-foot setback of the right of way.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, where do I go from there? Do I have anything else you guys want to add? That was Tammy and Jim, right?
Yeah, my name's Jim, yeah.
All right. Did you guys have anything else you want to add?
Just that we really hope that all the buildings are in compliance in a nice row on Talent Road. There are I heard someone say that his property was unique, but I don't feel that it is that unique because there are 5 other homes on the other side dealing with the exact same situation, and they're all in compliance if you drive by.
And don't go anywhere because we haven't closed public input. When we do, I don't know if you heard our previous one, but basically, we're at the point right now where we're taking the public input. We're going to ask questions, go back and forth. Once we feel as though we've exhausted all of that input, nobody has anything further to add, then we close public input. Once we close public input, the board deliberates and votes. So
Okay.
for now, if you can stick around in case there's more questions, we would appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Krebs, anything you want to add or respond?
Yeah, it would take time, but the road agent could verify that the floodwater thing, that's been there forever. The shed is actually, I've reduced the amount of water that goes there. The whole 210 foot of that backyard, I've reduced all the 90% of the water from going out there where it used to. So this water issue is not a problem. I even have a little swell behind the shed. So anything that goes in that corner goes into that little drain area I have.
So the shed itself, you're saying?
As far as addressing anything that those two say, they're kind of inebriated at this time of night, so I would be rude if I said anything.
We can't go there, Mr. Krebs. I'm sorry. You can't. Please refrain from doing that. This is a public hearing. We need to show respect to everybody.
And I'm trying to stick with this right-of-way thing, and they want to bring up other things.
Well,
you can speak to the road agent about the drainage.
No, I don't need to. I tried to make that clear. So let me get back to the
Okay.
let's get back to the shed and the timing. The stop work order obviously came in. It does appear that you did more work after that stop work order came or was handed to you. Was there discussion between you and the building inspector or whoever delivered that stop work order that said, you want to make it weather tight? I mean, why?
It's an independent contractor who puts these kits together. He doesn't work for the company that has the kit. So he's on his own time schedule when he gets it done. He was trying to get it put together. Yes, he came back the next day to put the shingles on it. But the 2 sides were up, so could I have moved it? I don't want to move it. I coulda, woulda, shoulda. I could have put it in the front yard, but I can't do that because I got a 50-foot thing there on the side. I got the Litchfield. The other side, I'm only like 25 feet from their property. I don't want to put it there. It goes back to personal reasons why I put it there, because I have a nice little hard stand that I can put my equipment on. I can clean it, put the stuff away. I can back my truck up to the shed and I can load it, unload it. Before I had to drive across the yard to get to the shed. If I put it on the other side by the Litchfield, I would have to drive over there across the yard to get to the shed. It's just a convenient, productive place where I put it. I didn't think it would get into all of this. I followed the rules. It says 20 feet. I need to talk to the surveyor again. Why'd you put 20 feet when there's a 50-foot rule? The road agent, he's good with what I did to the whole 210 feet. Safety-wise, she mentioned something about the other one. They don't have backyards to Talent Road. They all have front yards. I had to get a variance for my well because of the distance of the front yard being 150 feet and so close to my septic tank and where my driveway is. They wanted me to put the well in the middle of my driveway. I only have the backyard left, and you're restricting 40% of my property by using the regulation that says 50 feet because it's a right-of-way. I don't see the interference. There's no visual interference of driving. you actually gained space because I gave up space. That's all I really got to say. I don't want to address her no more, or neither one of them
All
at this
right.
time.
How about the zoning board?
Mr. Chair, there is one other public member out there that has been muted because their line's too noisy. I don't know if you want to ask them if they got any questions for us.
Yes, I would. I assume they just heard that. So do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak?
Yeah, I would like to speak again.
Please introduce yourself, your name and address.
So this is Jim Law. You got my name?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I'm going to tell you, and obviously I'm going to repeat myself again. We've had numerous photos. He had a verbal cease and desist order. Well within, when he only had a slab on that shed, and then continuing pictures that are time stamped of the erection of that that shed that he continued to do, total defiance of the town. So, in my opinion, I want the full letter of the law as far as the town goes enforced. I'm pretty sure I pay really good taxes in this town. I would like that enforced. I know, telling me to wrap it up here, but I'm telling you right now, I want that enforced, okay?
Understood.
As far as, and I don't know if Mr. Brown has distributed the photos of particular water runoff we get already from what he's done with his alteration of his yard, which would never, as far as runoff goes, where we have pooling in our front yard, and totally unacceptable. That shed being where it is, totally unacceptable. It needs to be moved way before. And oh, by the way, I'm just going to bring up one more thing before I leave you folks. He's got a propane tank that is well close to the right-of-way of the town. I think that's a road hazard.
But we have to stay focused, sir. We have to stay focused on the shed. I appreciate it.
I understand what you're saying, but I want to point that out to you. I don't believe that you should have a non-buried propane tank close to the road that's less than 20 feet. I'm pretty sure that's a road hazard. So with that all said, I hope you do the right thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All
You're
right.
more than welcome.
John Brunel. Do I have anybody else out there that I missed?
There is one, there's a call-in user with the number 603930.
Okay.
Hello?
There you go.
Yes.
Hello.
Please identify yourself.
Oh, good evening, board. My name's Robert Leary. I live at 172 Charles Bancroft Highway. I'm calling you tonight not as a member of the Selectmen's Board, but as a resident. And my concern in this whole matter is the open defiance of Mr. Krebs to the town administrator's cease and desist order, which she issued around 9:30, I think, in the morning, when there was minimal construction done on the shed. Mr. Brown has a really tough job in this town, and it's my opinion that we need to support him when he's doing his job. And this is a tough area, and Mr. Krebs thought he was doing the right thing. As it turns out, he wasn't. But then the issue becomes, what do you do from that point? He chose to tell Mr. Brown, well, I'm going to continue, and then I will get a variance, assuming that you folks will give him the variance. Now, I will compare this to a situation down on Broadview earlier in the year when Josh and Amy Lane had to have a cease and desist order and come before you
for a variance. They followed the order. They went to you, they got their variance. They did not continue the construction on their project. However, Mr. Krebs chose to, even though, as he has stated to everyone that he ever meets, he is a retired military man. And anyone knows that if you're in the military, you're given a directive, you follow a directive. And he chose not to. To me, the whole situation is he chose not to follow what Mr. Brown told him to do. He could have stopped there and then come to you. He chose not to. It's more like I am going to ask for forgiveness rather than permission, in my opinion. And if anyone has any questions of me, I would be glad to answer them. But otherwise, I'll bid you good night. I know it's late.
Hold on one moment, I'll check. Anybody else got any questions? Well, I guess here are none.
Okay, I want to thank you guys for your time. It is a thankless job, as I know. You guys do the town a service, and it's much appreciated. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that. Sometimes it feels pretty tough, and this is one of those times, I guess. So I don't know if we're ready to close public input. I would like to hear from the board first to find out if there's any other questions that the board has, any comments that the board has before we close public input.
Hey, Rick, I got a question for you. Did we offer Ken to delay the hearing, the vote for this due to a 4-member board?
Good point. I did not. I failed to point that out, didn't I? I did that.
But we didn't do a vote yet, so we still have the opportunity, I think, right?
That's true. I think so, yeah. Laura, is that correct? I still have the opportunity to do that, right? I think she's saying yes.
No, you're voted right now.
Yes, you do have the opportunity. He does have the opportunity to continue it if he wants.
So, Mr. Krebs, let me explain something to you. So we're still at the public input.
I heard you when you explained it to the other gentleman.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
4 people, 5 people. I'm fighting a selectman and an angry neighbor. So I'm just asking if I can leave my shed where I wanted it. It's personal reasons why I want it. It is in violation of that, whatever note that was. But I do ask that take into account it is my backyard. I do have a fence around it. That's all I can say on that. Oh, the propane tank, I do have a permit for that also.
Okay.
It's 35 feet. It's 35 feet.
Thanks. All right. So I guess what we'll do is we'll let the record reflect that Mr. Krebs has agreed to a 4-member hearing for this evening. So we can get that in. Was that all we had in terms of the public input side of this then? If that's the case, I guess I'll take a motion to close public input and we can deliberate.
I'll make a motion to close public input.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded from Kyle. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, so we've got public input closed, Mr. Krebs and others on the phone. So really try to refrain from speaking up. At this point, we can't take any further input. The board may choose to continue a case, but ideally, we're going to deliberate and hopefully make a decision for Mr. Krebs this evening. So let's have at it. Anybody got any comments somewhere, anywhere you want to start?
I just want to make one comment. I think we received a lot of information that's not relevant to our deliberations. So I just want folks to be cognizant of what our role is, and it's based on those 5 points. And there's a lot that was said that I don't think is necessarily germane.
Agreed. I have no problem sorting it out. I sympathize, I understand, and I wanted to give folks some latitude there to express what their thoughts were. We can use what we can for the case, and the rest, as you say, we have to really put aside because it's not relevant to the specific question of the shed and the 39-foot encroachment into the 50-foot setback.
Right, I just think it's important for folks to know that their concerns are not being dismissed, but they're just not relevant to the 5 points, or they may not be relevant to the 5 points, depending.
It may not, exactly. All right. Well, if you want, I'll try to walk us through step one. The first question, and I want to get Mr. Krebs' responses. So the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the shed does not present any type of threat to public health or safety. In fact, I increased shoulder of road to allow parking in a sufficient area for snow removal of street as per suggestions by the town road agent. The shoulder of road allows proper storm drainage of Talent Road. I removed several trees that had limbs that were struck by passing vehicles. So do we agree that this would not be contrary to the public interest?
I think isn't this the main item because the shed's actually in the road setback? What is the reason why they have a setback from a main road like that? What's the main drive to create a 50-foot setback from the road? Is it a safety thing?
Yeah, let me get it out just to make sure I have it, but I think it has mostly to do with safety.
I mean, out of all the things, that's probably the main item that we would need to address.
The following districts are established for the purpose of promoting health, safety, and welfare of the population to implement the goals of the Litchfield Master Plan, to minimize the impact on the natural environment, to provide a variety of housing opportunities, to protect the value of residential property, to broaden the town's tax base, to provide increased employment opportunities, to minimize the impact on traffic flow, to encourage the development of balanced and harmonious land uses of varying intensities, and to protect the character of the town.
Okay, so it's more character than anything, maybe?
That's that's the intent for the districts.
Okay.
And then the setbacks and everything are really, that's 300. I just read you 300.
Okay.
310 follows that as a dimensional requirement.
What's interesting to me is that in between the road and the shed is a fence, and when you drive by, you can see maybe a foot or two of the shed above the fence, but the only thing you really see is the fence. And I find that interesting that there's a problem with the shed being close to the road but not the fence.
Right.
So that's peculiar to me, if anything.
To the best of my knowledge, there's nothing in our codes about the fences, and I drive around and see fences. Like just go down to Albuquerque, you see fences. Now, I don't know where that right of way is, but you can see fences within 5 feet of that walkway. 5-6 feet of the walkway. I don't know, but anyways, I know the fence isn't the issue here; it's the shed.
Correct.
I also thought that berm is actually it works in the favor, in the applicant's favor, because the shed sits higher, so the fence sits higher. What is there, about a 3-foot rise from the road street level to the backyard level.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure how to address this one. I think I can address all of the other ones, but this one I'm not sure about.
No, it's funny. I don't know. Any other comments? Laura, any comments, or Kyle?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it from a. Sorry, am I on? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not on
on.
mute here. I was trying to think of it from a safety perspective again too, and I kind of came to that same conclusion I think you did, Rick, where you got the berm and the fence there. if a car were to go astray off the road, it's going to encounter that before it encounters the shed. It's not a direct line to the shed. So, yeah, again, I'm having a tough time to address it, but I'm not seeing a reason for it to be significantly contrary to the public interest.
Yeah, that's where I'm standing on number one myself. Laura?
I agree with what Kyle said too. I've not seen it significant enough as a safety issue.
Okay, good.
All right, let's move on to number two. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because he's saying in good faith, tried to follow all the requirements of current rules and regulations, did apply and received his building permit on the 14th prior to construction. Then when the Newtown article was approved in November, he moved it back because the new ordinance allows him to go 10 feet. So you guys all have access to this, so you should have read this. I won't read it all. Spirit of the ordinance is observed because. And I don't know. I think to me, the same reasons for 1 and 2. Having this. Well,
Rich,
here's the problem. What's that?
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when I'm looking at that whole section 310, whatever it is, when I think of the spirit and I see the carve out for sheds, so that makes me think that the intent of our zoning is to give some flexibility with placements of sheds in general.
Agree.
So when I see that, and I know he's got something unique because he's got the 2 front setbacks, I still think the spirit would be meant given the totality of 310 in the specific carve out for shed.
Yeah, I agree, Laura.
So the question I would have is, I would be much more inclined to say, yeah, I agree, spirit, and not contrary, if the numbers were flipped. You're coming 11 feet into a 50-foot setback, but you're coming 39 feet into a 50-foot setback. And I'm struggling, and maybe this is more for number 5, I'm struggling to find the uniqueness that would warrant that kind of encroachment.
Well, the 39, I think the 39 is from, because his intent, he was following the ordinance that said he only needs to be 10 foot off a rear. So,
Right.
Which is why he made it 11 foot.
Exactly. That's
so,
2 front setbacks, 1 in front and 1 in back, which is unique, right?
Well, I know that, but somebody, and Laura, I hope you can help me with this one. How do we get around that self-imposed situation?
What do you mean by self-imposed?
I mean, this is a hardship that are we allowed to grant variances because somebody made a mistake?
No, and I wouldn't look at it like that. I'm not looking given any of my analysis, given any leeway to the fact that the shed's already there. When I'm looking at it, I'm looking at, okay, I mean, there's part of me that's thinking about that because of the 10 foot, and I get why he started where he started, but my analysis is not focusing on whether he built that shed or not. I'm thinking of it does it meet the 5 criteria? Because if that was the case, then everybody would come to us with stuff built and be like, wanting us to give them relief. And I'm not going to entertain that type of analysis for my own personal reasons. So I'm looking at it, the spirit, the 10 feet for the shed. So I'm inclined to say that putting a shed there, and asking for the variance, I don't see an issue with the spirit.
But if what the applicant is hanging his hat on, the reason why they don't want to move the shed is because of the cost of moving something that's already built. So you have to take into account that it's already built. In other words, options, what, you don't?
No. Unfortunately, we don't have to consider that. I agree with Laura that it's kind of independent that there's a cost for moving it. It's whether or not it makes sense with the 5 criteria for where that shed is at the moment.
Interesting. I'm still not sure I understand.
Yeah, right. And Laura, even furthermore to like your point there with, you know, he's doing, I think it's justice of the spirit of the ordinance because he's,
Right.
you know, it's the back of his property, like you're saying before. So I tend to agree with what you're saying there.
Well, keep guiding the discussion then, Laura. Tell me where do we go next? Are we on number 3?
I believe we're on number 3, yep.
Go ahead. You lead this then.
Substantial justice will be done. So the question for substantial justice is whether or not the loss to him by not allowing him to have a shed there is outweighed by any gain to the public. So I think it's the balancing act when we take a look at if we deny him this variance, how great is his loss to us keeping that zoning regulation intact to the public? And I tend, I tend to think that the loss to him is going to be greater than any gain to the public. Because the only thing he's putting a shed in his backyard, 11 feet from what, under normal circumstances, would be in compliance. But given the fact that he has the 2 front setbacks that take away 41% of his yard as he testified to.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm still, I guess I'm still doing this the wrong way because I'm envisioning a situation where if somebody had come to me with the exact same lot with no shed being there and said, I want to put it here and I need a 39-foot variance. My first question is, well, why can't you put it 10 more feet in? Why can't you put it 15 feet more in so that you're not so close to your setback or to that right of way? And I get.
And I agree. I think that's analysis.
What's that?
I said, I agree. I think that's the proper analysis. And I think Mr. Krebs did go through why he placed the shed where he did. And I know Kyle had some discussion with him about grading and, clearing out the land and other uses that he wanted to have with the shed as to why he placed it in the back corner of the yard. Not saying you have to find those valid reasons. I just think that was discussed.
No, I understand. All right. So can you keep walking us through then number 4, if you don't mind?
Before we go to number 4, I just wanted to get a consensus as to what people think of number 3.
I'm not going to agree with number 3.
Who said that? Is that you, Rich?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I don't have any.
That's only one vote.
Yeah, I don't have any problems either. Summation, Laura, on that one.
Kyle?
Yeah, I agree with your summation there with the justice. I mean, he gave, in my opinion, a valid reason for where he put it.
All right, so the next one would be the values of surrounding properties are not diminished. We didn't have necessarily any concrete evidence from a real estate appraisal or anything like that saying that the placement of that shed is going to decrease property values for other folks. We do have the abutters, though, who are saying it's going to decrease their property value. So I think that needs to be given some thought.
So this is probably one area where I disagree with the feedback we received from the abutters. Again, my comment about the fact that you can actually see maybe 1 to 2 feet of a shed above a fence is not, it could have any effect on your property value. So I kind of discount that feedback. Their main concerns was the fact that there's runoff that's a problem, but we're not really talking about runoff. That's not part of the discussion here. That's maybe the issue on value, not because you can see about maybe 1 or 2 feet of a shed above a fence. There's no way that has any effect on property value.
Yeah, I thought the shed was, dimensionally, average. I didn't see any, anything in and of itself that would have, not been, in character with the rest of the neighborhood. So I don't see how that has a negative impact on the surrounding properties. So I would be okay with number 4. That's Rick.
Kyle?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's not too much exposed above the fence.
All right, so the next one would be number 5, basically determining whether or not the property is unique and if there is a fair and substantial relationship between the general purposes of that zoning ordinance and the specific application of that to that property. My thought for that is the uniqueness. He does, from what he said, 41% of his yard, just by the front setbacks, are unusable, and you got the 2 side setbacks as well. So I think that would diminish his usable land. And I know he talked about the leach field and some other restrictions, as well as some grading issues that may be unique to his property.
Yeah, it is unique. It is a unique property. So I think I think he's substantiated that one pretty well.
I'm willing to go so far as to say there's probably some unique characteristics on the property that would require some form of a variance. But 39 feet, for me, I'm not convinced. So I'm getting stuck on both number 3 and number 5. That's just me.
Kyle, did you want to weigh in at all?
Yeah. I'm kind of going back and forth on this too, and I'm kind of thinking about it just from the logical standpoint of the ordinance here, and it seems like the right place to place it. So it's a very unique property. Like you said, he's only got about 40% area where he can place the shed on the property. So I tend to agree with your analysis on this one.
And then the last one is the proposed use is a reasonable one. And I tend to think having a shed in your backyard is a reasonable use.
I agree with that.
Yes.
And that's the 5 points.
So it sounds like we've got would you mind making a, I think, unless there's any further discussion, I think we're prepared for what's the word I'm looking for?
A motion?
A motion, that's the one. Getting late.
Almost your bedtime, Rick.
Yeah. Well past. So do you want to make a motion, Laura?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion in case number 2020-4 to grant the applicant's request to encroach 39 feet into the front / right-of-way setback for the purposes of locating a shed.
It would, I don't know if it's the front though. Oh, well, okay, so front / right away is what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll
So
second.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
John seconds.
Seconded by John. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Laura?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
John Devereaux?
Yes.
Rick Riley, I'm gonna say no. So the motion passes 3-1. The variance for Mr. Krebs' shed has been granted. So, Mr. Krebs,
Yes, sir.
I think we will make the same notifications to Troy, Planning Board, et cetera, on the board's decision. You can follow up with them yourself directly as well and figure out what you need to do to proceed, get your stop work order lifted and so forth.
Isn't there
I don't know exactly how all that will work, but I'll try to get my paperwork taken care of as quickly as possible.
Isn't it a 30-day
Thank
wait
you,
for
Tim.
the motion?
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe maybe they have to leave the stop work order in place until then. I'm not sure.
Copy.
Right, and Rich, if I can just make one comment, because I know there are people that were not in favor of Mr. Krebs' actions about violating, orders from the town. And I just want to be clear that by granting this variance, the board is not condoning any actions at all that are in violation of the town, nor do we think it's ever a good idea to act in opposition to cease and desist orders or any order given by Troy Brown or any other of our elected officials or public servants that work for the town. So I just want to be clear that that's not a position that we're anyway taking, condoning or, affirming in any way.
No, that's a good point.
I understand.
Okay, so I guess that concludes 2020-04. I didn't have anything else on the agenda. Michelle Flynn, I know you're still there, so as long as you're all set with the minutes and everything, you're good? Excellent. So I guess we can take a motion to close the meeting then at this point.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
Thank you guys for listening to all of that, and thank you for what I've asked for. And have a good night.
Understood. Thank you very much. Have a good night yourself. All
I'll
right,
make
so
a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn from, I think it was John.
It was John.
It was John seconded. I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the meeting's adjourned. Thanks, guys. I'll circle back with any of you if I got questions for the decision docs.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.